Ladies and gentlemen, let the crow-stivities begin. Fucking ka. I hope you are ready for this live stream of the legendary Nerd Roundtable. Every Wednesday now, it used to be Friday, but now every Wednesday we get together and we do a roundtable. Today, because Black Widow dropped on Friday, we're going to give it to you live and direct. We call it the Crow-stivities because for months, damn near years, our contributor, Dr. Liz from the Freeway, has insisted, actually challenged Marvel itself for when this film takes place, saying that, yeah, this film takes place after Endgame and possibly that Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, is alive. And we told her, damn it, we told her time and time again, Liz, what the fuck are you talking about? She swore on a stack of Bibles. You guys are wrong and I am right. And and we told her, shit, damn it, we are going to give it to you if you are wrong. If we were wrong, we would have swallowed that crow. But this crow pie, this Brandon Lee, Heckle and Jekyll, hot and fresh, ready for you, is here for Dr. Liz from the Freeway. Before we get to you, Liz, let us introduce the round table. I see Mo Kelly in the building. What is up, brother? Yeah. Tom is talking Cunningham.
What's up, bro?
Anthony from 2 Cubicles Down.
Hello.
Ryan Twitch Master McBain.
What's poppin', y'all?
And the crow herself. She is here. Dr. Liz from
Cruella.
Liz, look, and I
so clearly
say this,
everybody's
Liz,
speaking for me.
Look,
people speaking
Liz,
for me. I can't even
Liz,
say hi.
You got to get it. You got to get it.
Cool. That's how we doing it.
Say hi, girl.
Today, yeah.
Yep.
What's up with you, Liz?
I'm done.
Are you in mourning, Liz? Is that your mourning veil?
It ain't our evening veil.
I know I'm hot.
Oh, damn. All right. First and foremost,
and I
Liz,
made it. I did.
I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made it. Damn it, you did it. You are here, and we need to hear this, Liz. Before we even get into this film, I need it on record how fucking wrong you were.
Yeah, I mean, I was wrong. I was wrong, but I still stand. This movie was meaningless, but it was good.
Wow.
Whoa. I love that
she was wrong.
Salty.
Yeah, I love that. This is how it goes when people are salty. All of a sudden, the movie is bad. Shit was wax, the worst thing I ever saw. This film didn't need to come out.
I didn't say that.
Liz, you were wrong. Liz, you're wrong.
Did I say any
The
of that?
words meaningless imply that.
Don't be putting words in my mouth.
You said meaningless.
Yeah,
That's your
meaningless.
implication.
Meaningless
I
implies
said
all
the
that.
movie was good, but it was meaningless.
Liz,
No,
all we're trying to
I
put in
like
your
the
mouth is
movie
crow
a lot.
tonight. Just
Fine.
crow. Jamaican crow patties.
Okay.
Hey, man, bloodshot.
Look, this film did every single thing that it was supposed to do. It ended the Natasha Romanoff era of the Black Widow, and it introduced us to the future of that legacy. That was the main point of this film, while also giving us lots of fan service with tying in a whole bunch of different Black Widow storylines. And Marvel once again proved the point that when you make movies right, when you actually give the people what they want, you will not lose. You don't have to fuck around and give fans bullshit films like we've been getting. I understand why everyone hates everything that's not a Marvel film, everything that's dropping on Netflix or HBO Max or any other app that is subpar. It is because of films like this that say we are going to go deep into the MCU lineage of films that we've made, show you where we're going in the future. But damn it, if you've ever read a comic book, fucking we're there for you too. First takeaways, Dr. Liz, you have the floor since you were so wrong. What did you think about this film?
Oh, I thought it was good. I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was well made. I think that the movie should have came out before Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I think that the struggle in making a movie like this is because it's all set in the past, 99% except the ending, that you struggle with making sure that there aren't any discrepancies with how the next movie picks up. So I think there's a little of a hiccup in a few places, but other than that, I thought it was a wonderful, well-paced, good movie.
I think it's important to say right now, just in case you hadn't guessed it, this is a spoiler-full review.
Hello.
We've already said some things, and if you haven't watched this movie, you've already heard some things that are going to mess you up, but it's about to get a lot more messier. So this is not for people who are thinking about going to Black Widow. This is Black Widow fans. This is people like myself who saw the very first showing. Pay attention, people. This is Spoiler Town. And Mo has a question for you about Spoiler Town.
Well, I think of it this way. First, let me say welcome to the nerds and nerdettes who are joining us on this evening. Thank you for staying up late with us. We don't take it for granted. You are nerds just like us, and so we appreciate you participating in this with us. Let me say that I loved the movie. I thought it was some of the best martial arts choreography I've seen in a long time. It was definitely a Bond-esque movie. There was even an homage to Moonraker in the movie, which said to me that they were self-aware on some level. I was expecting Daniel Craig to pop out at one point and join the movie and join his wife, Rachel Weisz, and just sit in for a moment or something, because it felt like a Bond movie through and through. It was a serious movie. It was a darker movie, but what made it better than DC was it was not dark in terms of color palette. All of this happened in daytime. It wasn't, for the most part, it wasn't trying to hide the movie or the special effects with nighttime scenes. It was a superiorly written movie. It was well crafted. I thought it was well done every step of the way. Now, we'll get into some of the nitpicks and things that we didn't necessarily like or questions about continuity. To Tom's point, we'll get into those spoilers. But let me just say off the top, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was one of the, I don't want to be part of the whole recency bias group of people, but it's probably going to go down in my personal view of one of the best Marvel movies of the past maybe 6-7 years easily.
Oh,
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm 110% on that. As a matter of fact, considering it's now very clearly an unassailable placement in the timeline of the movies, I would venture to say in terms of tone, it borrows a lot from Winter Soldier. It even borrows some line-for-line stunt sequences from Winter Soldier, in particular the Nick Fury sequence with the Winter Soldier, played by Sebastian Stan, the Bucky Barnes character, for the comic enthusiasts. And it really feels like that movie, because that was a movie unlike some of the world-ending scenarios with space creatures flying through portals and robots with unlimited copies of each other and a mad Norse god throwing things at people. It was more focused on the characters. It was very character-driven. And I'm going to go out right now and say that Florence Pugh, for me, was the standout in this film. She had to play a lot of different... Right, thank you. Thank you. You really like me. She had to play, I think, the broadest range. she had to play wounded little girl. She had to play hardened assassin. She had to play comic foil. She had to play, I mean, there were just so many different things that she had to do because ScarJo was basically ScarJoing. And so that's fine because she's great in this role. But I'm going to throw to Ryan. We all like the movies. That's no surprise.
Yeah.
Hit us with the headphones, Ryan.
The headphones.
I mean, you got your headphone, the big ass Cylon Taskmaster headphones. I'm just trying to give you some love.
Don't hate, appreciate. I love the movie, obviously. The action, the humor, the callbacks, even some of the twists actually threw me off. I was like, wow, I did not see that coming. Now, for me personally, my favorite character was Red Guardian. He was hilarious to me. Every time he tried to be serious, it was funny. He was a great character. I hope we see more of him. Like I said, I only had a few gripes with the movie. I wish they hadn't have gender swapped Taskmaster. I don't think there was any reason to do that. But other than that, I thought the movie was great, man. And the end credit scene was hot. I'm looking forward to Hawkeye because it's leading into that. Man, it was a great movie.
I mean, to both of those points, to Florence Pugh taking the lead, there were some critics of the film who complained because of her taking the lead. Those critics obviously don't know what's happening within the MCU. They don't seem to understand that Natasha Romanoff's character is not moving on. Scarlett Johansson is done with the MCU.
She did.
The banner has to be passed. The reason she took the lead is because she's the future of the franchise. You don't downplay a character who's going to be that much more important as you go further. She had to, we had to see her as a lead character. She had to be extremely badass, and everything that she did to me said, yes, you are the future of the franchise. And Red Guardian's role, I mean, every single thing that he did, from his side conversation with Natasha, say, hey, so has he ever talked about me? You know, referring to Captain America, like, this dude was amazing in this role. I love that they did not kill any characters either. You know how normally they do that.
Something I want to pick up on regarding David Harbour, the actor, and that speaks to a bad movie is sometimes too much for a good actor to overcome. If you think at
Hellboy,
right? Yeah. You put him in Hellboy, it's horrible. There's nothing to do.
Jesus.
No, the role that this is almost like something that he was made to do. You know, there are some people who are perfectly cast in roles. With what they did with, you know, with this role with Red Guardian, I'm like, I don't know if you could have found someone different from him as the unassuming father who you see in the beginning of the film. When they flipping on you, they're like, yo, we're undercover agents. I am a super soldier. He's flipping trucks, doing all type of wild shit. I'm like, yo, this film started off and I don't know if I was ready. I don't know if I was ready for how it started, much less how the film kept going.
Hey, one minor complaint. You remember how it started, and this is to your point. David Harbour, he starts off with no accent. None of the family usually really spoke with any accent because they were undercover embedded Russian agents for 3 years. Yep. They told us that. So I wasn't exactly sure why they reverted back to a stilted Russian accent, like they can't quite master the command of English later on in the movie. That seemed odd to me, but that was a minor complaint.
Well, and to that point, Mo, the young Natasha character actually had no problem speaking Russian.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Melina didn't. And Harbour didn't speak as much Russian as I would have thought. But I actually thought, you know, maybe he was getting double duty from his Stranger Things accent coach, because his character is in Russia now. That's a spoiler alert for season 4 of Stranger Things, by the way. He's alive! So I think I wasn't as offended by Harbour as I thought I would have been after Hellboy. I was actually a little bit scared that Harbour would drop a deuce on this one. But to Tuala's point, everything about him was a very clearly articulated vision of this oafish, goofy dad bod kind of character. And don't think, Marvel, that we aren't sensitive to the fact that you're trying to make dad bods superhero sexy. Because if Rachel Weisz can look at Red Guardian with longing, then some of us on this panel have
Got hope.
got some hope. You can squeeze into a red suit. It still fits.
Back to what the Red Guardian said in the jail about fighting Captain America. Knowing what we know now with Falcon and Winter Soldier, that there were after Steve Rogers Captain America's. Do we think that story that he was talking about was true? I want to say it is.
Well, he kind of got called out on it. They said, like, well, Captain America was still on ice. So I think he was lying. And the look in his eyes, he got pissed off. And that's when he broke that dude's arm. And he broke his arm.
Yeah.
That was nasty.
He broke that wrist. He broke that wrist worse than Finn Jones broke Iron Fist's.
Will you leave him alone?
I am not. He was
leave him
horrible.
alone. You are a bully.
I am not. Now I'm a bully.
The brilliance of this film is oftentimes when filmmakers go back into the past with the film. When you do for all intents and purposes, this is a prequel to her death, right? We know how her story ends.
You got that, Liz?
So to tell a story that takes place in between two crucial films within the MCU and actually make it make sense, to make the whole backstory of her, to give us another tease of Budapest, but actually not even give us Budapest. I thought that was great. A lot of the things that they did made perfect sense within the MCU. This was not a throwaway film by any means, and it actually furthered the story. This, I don't think, Liz, to almost counter your Falcon and the Winter Soldier complaint, is that this film had to come after, if only because this film is setting up a more detailed view of the quote unquote Dark Avengers that are being set up by the Contessa, which is really almost the ultimate point of this film. Is like, we're seeing this new Black Widow who is not starting on the side of good, who's being roped into the Contessa, who we were shown in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That series had to set up the beginnings of her dirty, dark secret that she's creating an alternate Avenger.
This was supposed to come out before Falcon and Winter Soldier, though.
No. It was supposed to.
Supposed to, yeah.
But Valentina, because this movie lets us know that Valentina had set up this way before Infinity War. After Endgame. No, we don't know.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do, Liz.
We don't know, actually.
Because Black Widow is dead.
Because she said
Black Widow's dead.
She sacrificed herself in Endgame.
No, but I understand all that. I'm saying at the end, we don't know when she started working for Valentina. We don't know that because she said.
Okay. I got another.
So we don't know when this actually happened.
Well,
I mean, if we do the timeline, this is really between Civil War, the fly hanger, because she's on the run for attacking T'Challa.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends, it drops us into, because I assumed that it was Captain America that came to rescue them getting out of jail at the end credit scene or maybe not the end credit scene, but at the end of Civil War. I made a horrible assumption. Right. So it was actually her breaking them out of jail. I'm going to make an assumption that Captain America was in Wakanda hiding out.
No, I think that they both,
because he's on the run. We find out here that he was on the run.
I'm just assuming that Black Widow and Captain America went into the prison.
Where would he be on the run
to get them out?
Yeah, I think she was the getaway driver.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to go with. She was the getaway driver, and he did the heavy lifting.
When she went to go pick up Cap, she said,
somehow her and Captain America had to come and hook up together. The last time we saw them is that in the end of Civil War,
You know, she stops T'Challa. They're all on the run. You know, we see in this film that it's picking up with her being hunted, her having to go into hiding. In the end of this film, we see that she has got herself a Quinjet and she's on a mission to break the people out. This film takes place literally in between, still, as it was said at the beginning, Civil War and Infinity War.
Right.
Yes. So basically,
right before that, right between those.
Yeah. So basically, at the end of this movie, she's telling Rick Mason that she's going to help break some people out, some of her friends out. So at the end of Civil War, we see Captain America breaking them out. So we have to assume that they were working together to break out the other Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. And I think the one thing that is important to mention about the Contessa is that we're not sure that Yelena is not running an op.
Right.
She appears to be interacting with her, but she's a double agent. She's the sister of the most famous double agent in the MCU. And it does not seem to me that she would automatically, after we presume that she has gone to free some of the widows, because that's kind of what their mission was. The widows that were unbrainwashed, they had the drive. She gave them the drive, and they were just going to go find the other widows and unhypnotize them. So that's a good deed. And she has free will. Other widows, I could see them throwing in with Power Broker, which is the Sharon Carter character from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Again, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, why are you watching this show? And that could be something. Anthony and I were texting about that. Do you want to pick up on that, Anthony?
Yeah, so we came up with the theory that a Disney series could be called The Widows. And it's the story of the widows that they had freed are doing their thing post-blip, going around the world trying to free other widows that are still brainwashed, like an Alias-esque TV show. And you can travel around. You can encounter other Power Broker at what is the city?
Oh, Madripoor.
Madripoor. And hey, maybe encounter the Dora.
Oh yeah, no, the Doras have to. The Doras have to happen.
Oh,
you got too many Black Widow sisters up in there, and I was mentioning that one of the widows at the end had tribal scarification, very noticeable tribal scarification. So it's possible even that you could say this was someone. Maybe she was like the Killmonger character and kind of abandoned the United States from one of his war dogs, and is an actual Wakandan citizen. And so that kind of sets up the Dora Milaje are seeking her because they want her to come back. There are all sorts of things you could do, because basically what you had is a movie with about 11 badass super soldier chicks. And you can't just let that go to waste.
Not bad.
Well,
looking at all.
especially considering the fact that they are doing a Dora Milaje series.
Exactly.
You know
This
what I'm
is
saying? So,
something
you know.
that I think Marvel was smart in, and they wove it into the story. We know the original history of the Red Room comes out of the Soviet Union / Russia in that time period, but you couldn't make that same story today with a bunch of Red Room widows who were all white and Eastern European. So they allowed the Red Room to be international in nature, and they would actually be better spies. I appreciated how Marvel naturally wove that into the story, but they didn't beat us over the head with it.
There are a lot of dark, and I say dark elements in this movie. The villain, I think his name was
Dreykov?
Dreykov. Beginning of the movie, when he's saying, take these kids, get rid of the rejects, or the I can't remember the phrasing he used, remove the defects. He's talking about killing those kids. The dude's a child killer. That's fucking dark.
Oh no, he's a super duper sociopath. And I want to just mention one thing that Tuala said about the Budapest thing. The Budapest mission was the killing of Dreykov and accidentally his daughter.
Yep.
So that they closed the loop on Budapest. And
I wouldn't say the killing of his daughter was an accident.
It was an unintended consequence.
Collateral damage.
Collateral damage.
She was bait for him.
But that was one of the greatest payoffs of this movie, and that's one of the things I really appreciated about it was that Budapest, it was all that stuff.
Yeah. But it was
I mean-
the thing that got them to become SHIELD agents.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what she said. She said that mission was her out. That mission was her whole thing, and that's why I love how when she broke down what actually happened in that mission, how they had to fight through a whole army of people and all this stuff they had to do. It brought me right back to their conversation of you and I remember Budapest very differently in when they're in the Avengers and they're facing down all these
The Chitauri.
alien warriors
the
come
Chitauri
through.
word, yeah.
I'm like that it just rung so true. And I was like, wow, I can see how either one of them may see that scene comparable to now what we know about what actually happened there without them dragging us down this whole thing of having to have a flashback. And you know what I appreciate without any flashbacks in this, I appreciate that they made this film about Scarlett Johansson's character. They did not throw in any other characters from the MCU that we know to take away from her shine. They said, this is your movie. You do you. We don't need to put, Iron Man in it or Captain America or Hawkeye, anyone. We don't need to have any other dudes from the MCU come in and take the shine away from you in a film that really did pay absolute proper tribute to her passing. Something a lot of us had a lot of issues with. We're like, wait a minute, you have this big funeral for Tony, but no one is talking about Natasha. I'm like, yo, they damn near buried her in an unmarked grave for all intents and purposes.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so after that flashback, that's when I knew, or I strongly assumed, who Taskmaster was. What about you guys? Like, for me, I was like, oh my God, I know who he is or who she is.
I didn't think so. I thought that the daughter was going to play a role, but I didn't see it being Taskmaster. I just didn't see it. I didn't think that they would go in that direction. I'm glad they did. And the movements of Taskmaster did not seem feminine to me at all at any point. So they hit that very well. And I wonder how Taskmaster would have shaped up against a Captain America or an Iron Man. That's a fight I would like to see. I would like to see Taskmaster again. I thought they developed the character very well inside that story. This is something I also noticed about Black Widow. Usually when you get these movies, what I'll call an origin story, however you want to characterize it, when we saw Peter Parker and Spider-Man, you got Iron Man. When you saw Doctor Strange, you got Thor. You usually see another Avenger. And this movie, to their credit, they did not use any other Avenger or lean on any other storyline to help bring Black Widow along through this movie. And I thought that was good foresight to let her finally stand literally on her own.
The only thing they used was the voice of Clint in that flashback scene. That's the only thing they used.
To me,
well, let me
it's
ask
almost
you,
a shame
because
that
Tony Stark is on. Tony Stark is on the list of cast. He's a cast member.
Yeah, I'm going with that's a Kevin Feige.
Why?
Kevin Feige rope-a-dope, like with the hair thing you're talking about. It was probably used to throw everybody off. Everybody thought Ryan, what's his name, was going to be Taskmaster in the film. It turns out it was Olga Kurylenko was Taskmaster. It was to throw everybody off.
Yeah.
And I think to the point that Ryan was saying before, you didn't see a rationale behind the gender swap. I disagree. The whole control of her father was over girls.
True.
He didn't.
Yes.
He had those men soldiers who were helping him, but he didn't have any men soldiers who were especially enhanced.
I will say that it made sense in the story. Just a minor gripe because in the comics, it's a dude. Now, he didn't have to have a daughter. He could have had a son, and it still could have been Taskmaster. Just a minor gripe. I just don't like it when Marvel tweaks things that don't need to be tweaked. They did the same shit in Doctor Strange. They did the same thing in Doctor Strange when they made the Ancient One a white woman. They do things they don't have to do. They do these little things that are unnecessary. That's all I'm saying.
Well, but I think it tied into two things. One, Dreykov is a pure sociopath.
Yes.
And the fact that he would do this to his daughter, just like he discarded all of these other things. He literally says the only thing the world has too much of, little girls. His disdain for women, his trafficking of women, his mass murder of women, his ultimate control of women. It was centered not only in his narcissism, but also in his chauvinism. And so to the extent that he misogyny, it was misogyny. Yeah, not chauvinism. So to make his own daughter, it was kind of like the Stryker character manipulating his son in X2.
Yes.
And I think it resonated for me when it finally did come about, because also it was much more impactful for Black Widow. It gave her an opportunity to clear her ledger, because she thought she had killed this girl that had been eating her up inside. And now not only had she not killed her, but she has now freed her from the pernicious influence of her father. So I think it was very important for the story for it to be this. And Taskmaster's just not going to be that major a character in the MCU, because his primary function was as a person who trained minions, and there just aren't that many minions in the MCU. So I don't see it as a problem.
I just had one complaint with the movie, and this just has to do with unnecessary plot devices. Black Widow didn't need to break her own nose. She could have used some nose plugs and put some Kleenex up her nose and probably gotten the same effect to block the sense of the pheromones.
Because her quote unquote mother even said in the flashback scene that that's not going to work.
She said it couldn't hold her breath. And she said you wouldn't be able to do it long enough. And I'm saying, like, if it's just blocking smell, there's probably a better way than severing the olfactory nerve.
Well, but
I don't know if there would have been. I mean, I think that would have been, easily seen. And
also,
she had nose plugs
because she had that mask on, Mo, when she was disguising herself as Melina.
Right.
The nose plugs would have been tough. But also, let's remember, the payoff of that scene was, thank you for your cooperation.
That was great.
They did the perfect callback to her very first Avengers movie. And it just showed again the level of manipulation and he got sucked into it because he thought he was invulnerable. He didn't realize he was being manipulated. And that's exactly what she did with Loki. And that's exactly what her character was supposed to do.
It was very well written.
I went with it. I completely bought that.
No, but that's a through line.
Me off. It was a great twist.
No, absolutely.
It was beautiful. When she took her mask off, I was like, oh shit. I didn't know that was I didn't know that was Black Widow. That threw me off.
But that's a through line through everything that Black Widow does. She uses the arrogance of men against themselves. When she's tied up to the chair, the man is interrogating her, and he thinks he's in charge, but she's really in charge.
He's telling me everything.
That's right.
Even Ultron, even the fact that Ultron was not, was just able to just dismiss her as not being a threat when he had her locked up. It's one of those things that's like I love how they showed us exactly how badass she is. The martial arts that we saw in this film, the skill set that we saw the Black Widow's employing, I'm like, wow, damn it. And if I look like this is where they're at right now. When you think about the writing room that is sitting in there putting together these Marvel films, you say, like, what do we do in the last film? How can we up the stunts? How can we up the action? And then if you look at Shang-Chi, where they're going to go with that, it can only get better. How does one film company continue to take it to the next level in every film in just subtle ways?
That trailer for Shang-Chi is phenomenal in Dolby. And I really think that it's going to be even better if you see it in 3D. Because of the way that the rings come on his arm and stuff. I was like, oh, I want to see this in 3D. No, I just stopped.
Question for Liz and Thomas. Y'all saw this in theaters. How was the theater going experience?
I saw it at 5:30. Liz thought I had promised that I was going to see it later, but she was wrong again. So I found that It was cool. It was nice to be assaulted with the wall of sound. It was great. I saw it in an AMC Prime theater, which is their optimal audio. I mean, they have Dolby and they have Prime, and so I can't tell you the difference. The chair was a little bit more comfortable. It was probably at about 80% capacity at 5:30 on a Thursday. The audience applauded before the movie started when the new intro sequence came out. That they are very clearly color coding to everyone. Loki's is green, hers was red, and so that was cool. It was nice. I mean, there's some movies you see and there are like, well, here's my time to go get some popcorn. Every aspect of this movie, there were no wasted scenes. There was no filler. All of it was very, very well paced. And everything that they had in there was designed to advance the story in a meaningful way that was satisfying and paid off. So I loved seeing it in a theater. Liz?
No, I agree everything in what you're saying. But I will say a couple people coughed and I was like,
oh no.
I'm gonna need you to
Can't
cover
be having
that up.
No.
But as a whole, I enjoyed it terrific. Even though I do think, just like James saying that the laughter from the audience, like seeing a Marvel movie, I think even with Endgame, it's so much better to see it with other people. But I still think that there's nothing. This movie, though, I will say, it doesn't feel different than if you watch it at home, right? So there was nothing super special about seeing it in Dolby versus seeing it at the house, and I did both. And finally, interesting that the end credit scene I loved, right? So I was like, finally, I get something that I can chew on even more when I'm thinking about all the other stuff. So I came home and we watched whole Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but you don't get the same type of reaction from that end credit scene from the rest of the crowd because not everybody's seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So it's kind of an interesting throw because you have people who were like, I don't understand what that end credit scene was.
Oh man, because I was at the house when that scene
popped
interesting
up.
How they're doing this. I jumped out my chair and ran around the living room like, no. I flipped out. Yeah.
So Anthony, you saw it in the theater too. What was your impression?
So I saw it. My screening was at 5:45 on Thursday. We were maybe a third the way full. No energy in there. It was no cheering when the scroll started at the beginning. No cheering when Natasha appears on screen. No cheering at the end. I bet you at the end credit scene when Elena whistled, you would have heard her whistle back. Nobody would have said a word. It was It would have been crickets. I mean, it was the energy was sucked out of that theater, and I was kind of bummed. Like I was, you're going to a Marvel. If this was not pandemic time, that theater would have been packed. There would have been people cheering, hooting, hollering the entire time, and there's just no energy in it. It felt bad, like almost pathetic at that point.
Wow.
We have a question from James. When that scene was done, Falcon and Winter Soldier wasn't out yet. So this is the point that Liz was raising before about the importance of the placement of the order of these films in terms of the overall Marvel timeline. So I don't disagree that there was some context that was added for us because this was like the second appearance of Nick Fury as he was organizing the Avengers, basically in terms of the Dark Avengers setup that is currently in place. But I think if you hadn't watched Winter Soldier, you wouldn't know the name of that character and you wouldn't know the background of that character, but it wouldn't be impossible for you to find it out. It wouldn't be as satisfying as if you had watched the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But because it was so brief and because it was really there to set up the relationship between Yelena and Clint, I didn't find it as jarring as some people might find it, because again, to me, the biggest shame about this movie is that there was a lot of story that could have been explored and mined in the Black Widow character, and now we basically are at a standstill on it. Other than advancing the story of the other Black Widows, which is certainly a possibility, or getting Florence Pugh some flowers, it's just a shame because she really actually carried the hell out of this movie. It was very, very well done.
Her mock of her on the superhero landing.
Oh my God, the pose
was hilarious.
hilarious.
You could not. You
That
couldn't
was
have wrote
so
that
funny.
any better.
It looks so awkwardly funny. Yes.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
not have
So
wrote that
funny.
any way better. You couldn't have someone deliver the line of mocking her any better. And then she does the superhero landing at the end, and she just
Such a
is like,
poser.
yeah, just completely disses it. And it's like, what the hell is this?
And not only that, that's almost a tongue-in-cheek acknowledgement of the sexualization that was addressed from her first appearance in
Right.
in
Yes.
Iron Man
2.
2. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like one of those, like, that's almost like a, yeah, we get it, y'all. We know that we did too much with that.
When she even says it, like, who are you posing for? Like,
Right.
like
Exactly.
what is it, a
When she said-
magazine
I'm like,
cover? Who are
no,
you doing
they
this
didn't.
for? It's
Yeah.
like there's
yeah.
no purpose of this pose when you land, and like Scarlett Johansson, Natasha has like no bearing, like no response to it whatsoever.
Yeah. That shit was dope. It's like they're very aware of how people feel about that.
Hey,
That was
Tuwala,
dope. Yeah.
you make a great point and remind me of one other point I wanted to make. Why this movie is so much better than Wonder Woman 1984. Make this direct comparison.
Ooh.
You had strong female leads who were
Yep.
not in
Oh,
any way
stop.
brought
Stop.
down or vulnerable because
yes.
of a love of a man or anything like that.
Yeah.
Where they shoehorned
just
that into
can't,
Wonder
just
Woman.
can't, just
They didn't
can't.
do that with Black Widow, and I appreciated that. Yeah, even the CIA, I guess, operative dude who got the helicopter, he was
Rick
kind of
Mason.
thrown out there. He didn't want to be in the friend zone.
Right.
Black
He was
Widow
like,
did
no,
not
no,
bite.
you're
Nah.
straight in the friend zone, homie.
He was all
there
about
was no,
business.
She
there
even
was
told
no,
him.
yeah.
She even
Like-
told him, "I'm paying you.
That's
I'm
right.
paying you. I got you on salary."
Yes.
It, like this whole film would have gone south
But
if
I'm
he
a-
would have
but-
been
but-
kidnapped and she would have had to have saved him. I'd have been like,
Nah.
get the fuck out of here. What are you doing?
Nah.
Like some
They did none of
ancillary
that.
side character that nobody's
but
heard
I
about
think that
before.
There's a point. Yeah. But I think that there's a point when we have to talk, because it was mentioned about the femininity here, but it's like, well, they have no uterus because they said, is it that time of your month? So the fact that you
Oh
have
yeah,
no uterus, no fallopian tubes, and they made a good list of the whole female anatomy is done because there's a full hysterectomy and a partial hysterectomy. So that messes with your hormones since they have no ovaries. So that notion, there's no way to incorporate this love notion that you can get from a Wonder Woman, especially when
Not true.
part of
She
Wonder
went
Woman's
after
even
Banner.
origin.
She went after Banner. She had the capacity
I
to
think that
love,
there's that, but
Right.
but it's not necessarily having a family in the sense of
Mm,
that mother gene. She knew that she couldn't have children, but she still yearned for
I
love
think-
and companionship.
Right.
My only other question is at the very end of the film. Ross is coming. They all survived. The widows are on the plane. Widow stays behind. I don't know
he could
why.
have got on the plane.
She could have got on the plane, and also they don't explain how she got away. What happened there? It just cuts to 2 weeks later.
no.
Yeah.
With a new haircut and a dye job.
Yeah.
Which they telegraphed, because when she was in hiding, she was looking at a blonde dye job box.
Yes.
So
Right, they sure did.
you know, that was all for Liz.
That really
Mm.
was. They were like,
Literally,
damn it, if
somebody
Liz
said,
quotes this
Where's that
Where's that
Liz girl?
Yeah.
Here's
But
the thing.
here's what I have. Here's what I think. Here's my hypothesis, and I hope that if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I think that the power broker plays a role again, and I think that the Black Widows are not going to be turning for good, for quote unquote as good as the Dora Milaje. I think that when the power broker suggests that we have other things since we can't hire this other muscle, I think that's where we're referencing, and we can possibly see them pop up again.
That's not a bad hot take. I was all ready to go for the throat, but that's actually not a bad hot take, Liz.
I mean,
that's
it's really not a bad hot
pretty
take
good.
since Anthony and I said it 33 minutes ago, but okay. It's a crow take. But
You're just sad. Whatever.
I mean, the Dora is not exactly a hired guns. Dora, does the bidding.
The Doras do their things. Yeah, exactly.
The widows, those are straight mercenaries. They'll highest bidder.
Yeah, and it makes sense for, I mean, the one widow, as soon as they got uncontrolled, she says, "What do we do now?" And so they are going to be they're rudderless. They're going to be looking for somebody to give them guidance. And this is what they do. They have a very specific set of skills.
And what better place to hide out than Madripoor?
Than Madripoor. Connery? Or
it was Liam Neeson. So it's really kind of Sean Connery, Shawnee Neeson. The one thing I would like to say before, because I don't want it to slip by, I was absolutely engaged by the Firefly bookends.
Yes.
I thought that was so cool. And, just the very softness of it and the spark back to the childhood wonder that Yelena had about the lightning bugs and Melina explaining that's bioluminescence. And then as we end, we get that same, quasi universe constellation flickering stars thing that just kind of lets us know she's at rest. What's going to happen. And this is a way that kind of closes off the Black Widow story. It's things like that are completely absent from rival companies' attempts at universes that make me appreciate Feige even more, because I was really ready. I was like, okay, so this is a ScarJo thing. Like, we got to give her a movie because she's a big star now. Her character's dead. Now, I really would have much rather have seen this instead of Captain Marvel, to be honest.
Same here.
You could have thrown Captain Marvel's character intro, as an extra credit scene after the pager scene in Infinity War, and I would have been like, okay, that's Captain Marvel, great. This story was incredible. Yeah. It was amazing, and to Mo's point, it's top 5 for me.
It was.
Oh, definitely.
It is a really, because I look at Ryan's face all quizzically, but for me, the best stories, when you think about Iron Man was about his journey, his quiet journey to self-discovery. Okay. And that's what kind of kicked everything off. Then you look at a story like Winter Soldier, 2 friends separated across the decades, united and coming together at the end, realizing that friendship is still possible. That's what makes that movie absolutely incredible. Then you got the whole Black Panther thing, which is, just on another level with its very narrow focus. Again, when the world is not on the line, these movies shine through with character development. Right. And in this one, you had characters that you're not sure you're going to see again, except Yelena, but they turned it into a family, and it was absolutely believable. A fake family that turns real by the end of the movie. I was absolutely taken in by it.
Yeah, I agree. It's shockingly good. Like, watching this film for me, I was like on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I could not believe how good this film was. I don't know if it's because of the timing of it and how long it took to come out. If I had dismissed it as a film that's not going to affect anything, I did not expect this film to affect me in so many different ways. It excited me. I cared about these characters. By the end of this film, every last one of these characters were extremely important to me. The future that it tells us, it gave me hope for more from the characters that we were introduced to, from Taskmaster on down. Like, even if we get a Red Guardian cameo somewhere in the next Captain America film, you know, where we have, you know, Seb was, and he's like, hey, look, we got to fight. If he just shows up to start some shit with him, I'm there for that. I'm there for all of these characters.
It's possible.
This was superb from the MCU. They really did it. And this, for me, it's like, it makes me say, until the MCU steers me wrong, I am with them all the way. I don't care what they do.
But
I am there until they give me a dud.
It's possible because Sam did fight the very first person that Captain America fought in. Was it in Captain America? No.
It was in Winter Soldier when
Avengers.
he fought.
Right.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah. When he fought with
Batroc.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Well, yeah. Steve fought Batroc.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. He didn't fight Batroc until Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. But it wasn't until he became it wasn't until Sam became Captain America that he fought him again. So I think it's possible. You could possibly see him again and fight the now Captain America.
I expected that this movie would be very good for the simple fact that it's really it's easier to make a movie about a street level character, because if you make a movie like about a character who's very powerful like Thor, it's harder to put that character in danger. When you have a street level character, it's easier to write for. And after watching the Winter Soldier and Civil War, I was strongly looking forward to this, and I was not disappointed. I don't know if I put it in my top 5, but it's really damn good.
Fair enough.
I don't just leave with this. I was expecting a spy thriller movie, but within the vein of a Marvel spy thriller movie. What I got was a damn good spy thriller movie, which could compete with any other in its genre. There were moments which were reminiscent of a movie called Ronin, if you know that, with Robert De Niro. It's Jason Bourne when he's in Eastern Europe. It took the best of the genre and it made it even better when you put the Marvel storytelling depth to it. That's what I appreciated the most. You can like a Jason Bourne movie, but there's not a lot of depth to the character himself. You can like a James Bond movie, but there's not a lot of depth to James Bond, even the Daniel Craig one. What made it so good, Daniel Craig, was you got to see a little bit more of James Bond than we had seen from previous James Bond. But Marvel is fantastic with story and character development, and they put it together with fantastic action and martial arts choreography. It's a win.
And to cap it off with why she was so different from the Widow program, that callback that she had to that line that her mom told her when they were being snatched away. I had almost forgot that she said that to her. And when she said it, I remembered it, and it meant something to me in that moment. I was like, oh man, damn, the feels. All right, this is very real here.
Yeah, because she said, "Why do you have a heart?" She said, "Why do you have a heart?"
Right.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I really see this as a watershed moment for female action leads, in the same way that Sigourney Weaver kind of created a whole subgenre of kick-ass woman, and in Alien, and also Aliens, especially, where you also introduced another of Cameron's main chicks who's always in a bunch of his movies, not to mention the whole Sarah Connor thing. This sets the stage for a much more credible 007 in the upcoming Bond film. It's a black woman who's a 00. Daniel Craig is Creaky. She's the future of the 007 right now, unless Idris or Ray J or whomever decides to slip in and they give us another male character again. But the point is that female director directing kick-ass action. Kick-ass action.
That part.
I don't think people were really, really expecting that. And I was side-eyeing the Eternals, #Eternals. I am right back on the Feige train, because this was a movie I wasn't expecting to be as good as it was. And I was absolutely gobsmacked. Everything, every button that they wanted to press in me as a comic book fan and a film pundit, every time they pressed the button, I was like, oh, I'll be there. They killed it. They knocked it out of the park. They did an amazing job.
No doubt. No doubt.
I agree.
And there you have it, y'all. There you have it. Looking forward to Wednesday and the season finale of Loki.
The end of Loki.
The
Oh,
end
man.
of Loki.
You know,
Finally.
come
I did a
August
Loki.
11th, we get What If. Look, it's a great time to be a nerd. Want to thank you all for joining us this evening. And as we do on every round table, we set it off with none other than Anthony from 2 Cubicles Down.
Good news, everybody.
Multipass.
Where is my widow suit?
You're all a bunch of posers. All of you.
Oh, that's you, Lynn.
Family back together again.
Excelsior.